All right, Javi. We've already been talking for a minute. This is going really well. So it might be time to jump into some rankings over here because already 30 plus minutes in. Now it's rankings time. Woo, we're going to have a good pod because of you, Javi. Thank you. A nice vacation pod. So, Javi, I want to start. What do you want to start with, the American League or the National League?
Let's start with our beloved American League, but let's be
Okay.
quick.
Okay. You
I
said
think we should
beloved.
be quick. Actually, no, we got to do NL. We're NL pods. We don't
Okay.
want people tuning out quickly, right?
Okay, let's do the lineups first. I thought I was gonna have an honorable mention here. Okay, let's do our top five lineups. We'll just go back and forth from 5 to 1, and we'll first start with any honorable mentions if you have one. If you have one, I didn't put one down for the NL lineup.
Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, if you had any honorable mentions for the NL lineup, I didn't have any under lineups. For some other ones, I had more tough decisions, but not on this one.
So, firstly, I must say that I thought we were ranking all lineups in baseball. I must say that. I must point that out that I did get the instructions wrong beforehand.
From
So
30 to 1?
Yeah, like 30 to 1. No, like as in like 5 best lineups in all of baseball and 5 best lineup pitchings in all of baseball. So some minor alterations must be made. But
no, it's okay. No, don't even worry about it. We'll just work off your list. We won't even go off mine. I'll just hear your list, Javi. And then we'll just critique it.
Okay. Well, the best lineup in the National League.
We're going from the bottom. We're going from the bottom.
Oh, from the bottom. From the bottom.
Yeah, we're going to start from the bottom. Guy, build that suspense. Yeah.
Okay. In the National League. I'm going to go with.
Oh, wait. And then are you doing your whole. Because you did it for both leagues on one list?
Yeah, like I did.
So just give me your.
Lineups. So you want me to do that?
Yeah. Okay, you don't have
5
to
best. Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to do the 5 best. Yeah.
All right. We're really prepared, people, clearly. My honorable mention is the Phillies for this, because I genuinely think I've been feeling this all year. I think that this team can go nuclear. I am not buying Nick Castellanos. I do not think that this is what he is now. I think that he's going to get better. I think Schwarber could potentially go down just a tad bit, potentially. But I think overall this team could go crazy. But the reason they don't make it, I might even put them at like 4-3. But the Bryce Harper injury really, really took a lot of air out of this team. And the factor that they still haven't gotten Bryson Stott or Didi Gregorius, not too much out of shortstop. I'm going to take them out of it. Part of me wanted to be a hipster and put the Giants just because of last year, but yeah, I can't do the Giants. I think the Phillies have to be my honorable mention because they're right there. But that damn injury, right? And their overall numbers are pretty solid. Yeah, they're not great in on base percentage and whatnot, but their runs, they're 6th, they're 5th in home runs, and they're 7th in slugging. Like they're a good team. It's just man, if Harper didn't get hurt. Shout out Blake Snell.
Harper is so freaking shout out Blake Snell. Harper is so freaking good this year. It's ridiculous. Yeah. The Giants, surprisingly, didn't even crack my top 5 in the National League. So if they were to crack your top 5 in overall baseball, Javi, I would have given you some dirty looks. I would have given you some dirty looks for sure.
Yeah.
The Phillies, though, they come in at number 3. If we did the National League, I have them number 3 in my NL lineup ranking. So I don't mind that at all. Like you said, I still believe in Castellanos. It's a down year. It's a weird season for him, but I just look at the talent on paper. Like there are just too many power hitter slugger types in this lineup, like Castellanos, Harper, Schwarber, Baum, Hoskins. Like you got like 5 dudes that I should be afraid of when they come up to the plate in RBI situations. So because of that, even though some of them are having down years and Bryce Harper's not there right now, when that lineup is healthy, they're clicking. They still are one of the most fearsome lineups in the National League in overall baseball, even though from a defensive standpoint, they probably aren't fits together. But in terms of just a lineup, when you're seeing guys go through the order, that's as scary as it gets. So I don't mind that at all. And that was only your honorable mention. We didn't even get to the top 5 yet. So who's that number 5 for you in all of baseball, Javi?
Number 5 for me in all of baseball is the Houston Astros. It would not surprise me if the Astros ascend on this list. They hit a lot of home runs. They're great at that. But they're 15th in runs scored. And I think that I'm still worried about parts of this team. I'm worried, by the way, relatively in terms of them cracking the top lineup. I'm worried about, it's a rookie. Bottom line, Jeremy Pena, can he keep up what he's doing? He's been a more than great fill-in. He's been an excellent fill-in for losing Carlos Correa, who's still better and he's still Puerto Rican power and all that stuff, right? He's been great. But I am wondering, can Jeremy Pena keep this up for the rest of the way? That's one thing. And then the other thing is Alex Bregman. We've seen that he's a good player, but it's been lowercase g good lately. The fact that he hasn't been the same since the scandal, does it have to do with the fact that he struggled with off-speed pitches more? Maybe not. So that could be a thing.
Bregman's only 28, which I think is kind of surprising. He doesn't feel that young. He feels like he's been around the game for a minute, but only 28 years old still. But continue.
Yeah. So Jeremy Pena, still a rookie. Hopefully he doesn't fall into a wall. But even if he does, still a good defensive player. But that's not what we're talking about. And then I think a big fall for the team. Yuli Gurriel hasn't been as good this year. But even still, you've got Altuve, you've got Tucker, you've got Jordan. That immediately, I don't even need to say the rest of the lineup. If they make a trade, maybe, which wouldn't be surprising if they did make a trade, then the offense could be improved giantly. And I still think this is one of the best teams in baseball overall, even if their offense isn't always amazing because their pitching is great. And we'll talk about them in a little bit. So,
yeah, I like the Astros lineup. It cracks my top 5 in the American League, but it cracks at number 4. So they probably wouldn't be in my top 5 overall in baseball. And part of it is because just some of those guys are getting a little bit older and they're having down seasons like the Michael Brantleys of the world, who's still a very good hitter, but he's going to be hitting around 290 till the day he dies, but he just slowing down a little bit. Yuli Gurriel is 38 years old. Martin Maldonado's 35. Like, they just have a lot of veterans in that lineup. And I still like the team on paper. Like, Kyle Tucker, I think, is one of the most underrated players in baseball. Yordan Alvarez is quietly, no one wants to talk about it. But if you look up your favorite stat, WRC plus, Yordan Alvarez, best player in baseball according to WRC plus. He's the real MVP. Don't let those Aaron Judge Yankee fans. Don't let him fool you.
There's the spice, ladies and gentlemen.
Use that WRC plus. It's the only time I'm ever going to use in my MVP argument right now. But that's right. Take the Astros. I like the lineup, but there's probably a couple of teams in the American League, specifically the American League East, that I like more than the Astros line. But overall, on paper, I still think they're pretty good. And if this team still had a Correa and a George Springer, it would be even more insane. But this team, once we get to the postseason, I think the Astros are the kind of team that's built for the postseason. I think they're probably going to be right there in the championship series once again, because they've been in the championship series or better every year since 2017. So I think they'll probably be there once again when we get to the playoffs. So I do like the Astros pick, but they probably wouldn't crack my top 5, but that's okay because it's your list, Javi. So now who is that number 4?
Number 4, this one was tough, but I think that as currently constructed, and it's another one of those that could change for the aforementioned thing about the trade. I think this team does have a trade to make and will make a trade, but I'm going to put.
Oh, no. Did we lose him?
I'm just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still here.
No, did you really do that to us? I thought we lost you. You had me, Javi. You had me. I
hope everybody on there had to check their phone. They slid the thing down. They wanted to make sure it was still going.
Audio listeners, go to Locked On Diamondbacks, go to Locked On Padres on YouTube whenever this episode drops. You got to see what Javi just did to us, because I was fooled. I was ready to check. I was checking the Wi-Fi. I was like, it wasn't me. You had me, Javi. Good prank. Good prank.
Man. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We like to have fun over here at the Locked On Network.
It's what we do. The New York Mets are my number 4 team. I was tempted to put them at 3 but part of that is a classic case of the eye test a little bit taking over, where there's so much more fun of an offense because of the walk-offs, because of the big hits, the fact that Pete Alonso has some of the most home runs with runners in scoring position, in baseball. He's been incredible. And then you've got my boy, Francisco Lendore, who's having a bounce back season. I know his batting average and on base are a little bit low. And his defense has been less than elite as it usually has, but in terms of situational hitting, he's been very good. He's had some big hits for that team. And I think that his batting average is going to tick up. I think he's been a little bit unfortunate in that area. And in general, just because of how young he still is, I'm not buying that this is what he's going to be for a while. I actually think that he's got a lot of improvements. I could see this coming soon, where he's a guy that's going to be a little bit more home run dependent and play great defense, who's not going to be worth the total contract that he's making. But I don't think it's yet. So I'm expecting a big second half from him. And then you've got other great players. Starling Marta, quietly one of the most effective players in baseball since the world ended in 2020. He's been excellent with both the Marlins and the A's, and now
who else?
New York Mets.
You forgot a team during that mix. Who else has he been great for in the last couple of years, Javi?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
There's only a half season.
I didn't want to be mean. But for your D-backs as well, Starling Marte, Just one of the most consistent players, a little bit like Michael Brantley, who we talked about before. I would have loved it the Padres if they had money, if they could have brought him over in the offseason, but Starling Marte has been great. You got Pete Alonso. Brandon Nimmo just gets on base. Mark Canha, good, solid hitter that I actually thought would have been great for the Padres as well with their outfield issues. Solid lineup. And then you've got Eduardo Escobar, who another former D-back. I think he could be okay. I think they have a trade to make, though, which is why they're my number 4 for now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think this is going to be a heavy team at the trade deadline, which is going to be expected with Steve Cohen as your owner. It feels like they're probably going to trade a J.D. Davis or maybe a Dominic Smith. I know a team like the Red Sox might be interested in acquiring a first baseman. So we'll see. They're definitely going to be buyers. Maybe they look at the D-backs and they say, hey, Mark the Shark, what are you doing over there? You want to go fishing in New York? I doubt that they want Mark the Shark because of how bad he's been, but I don't mind your Mets pick there. Now, they did fall into number 4 on my National League top 5 power rankings, so they probably wouldn't crack my top 5 overall either. And that just because, not because I don't like this Mets lineup. Like I said, they're the 4th best lineup in the National League. I just feel like it's more of a high floor lineup than a high ceiling kind of a lineup. I don't think the star power is that great outside of like a Lendore and a Pete Alonso, but it is deep in terms of very good quality major leaguers. There's not really any holes in that lineup. I just don't think there's a ton of star power up and down. So just because of that reason, I have them a little bit lower in my National League power rankings, but I won't disagree that it's a very good lineup from top to bottom, and I'm sure they're going to be coming up in your rotation rankings later. So let's move on to your lineup rankings, Javi. Who you got next?
Number 3 is the Atlanta Braves. I'm not going to be as funny with my introduction in this one. Okay. The Atlanta Braves, a lot of people, and it was more last year that I was really like, wow, I can't believe that they're putting this together, because they lost a lot of stuff of significance. They had Marcell Ozuna that they lost. They had Ronald Acuna. They had Mike Soroka who got hurt. There was all sorts of things. But in terms of their lineup, like I said, they have Ronald Acuna Jr., still one of the 5 best players in baseball. Or some people will even take him 1, which is totally fine. He's awesome. You replace Freddie Freeman with Matt Olson, who's excellent player, even if not necessarily the home run guy that a lot of people were probably expecting based on his season last year. I believe he only has, 17 home runs right now. So as of late, he's been turning it up a little bit more in the power department, but he hasn't been that like 50 bomb threat that maybe some people pegged him for. And then you've got Dansby Swanson having a peak contract year moment right now. For those who don't know, Dansby Swanson kind of out of nowhere, 294, 353, 481 splits, and he's got home runs, he's got steals. He's been great for them. And I think it's mostly sort of legit, at least for a little bit, because again, I buy into that. Then you've got Austin Riley, Travis d'Arnaud, a really good catcher, especially when your all-star catcher is right behind him. So they've got that. Yep. And I think Marcell Ozuna, Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario, and Michael Harris, their rookie, more than going to be good enough. I think Ozuna will get better. And then the last thing is, yes, I know they lost Ozzie Albies, and this isn't even, in my opinion, a hot take anymore, but he's super fun to watch. I like him. I still think that maybe he could get better in the future, but probably one of the more overrated players in baseball because of the lack of an on-base percentage. He's been more of a fantasy superstar with the potential for 30-30 and stuff. And I think he gets valued highly because he had that great season in like 2018, 2017. And he was so young that everyone's waiting for him to turn the corner, but he really hasn't over the past few years. But yeah, the Atlanta Braves, number 3.
That might be the hot take of the pod right there. Ozzie Albies sucks. Whoa.
Jake Cronenworth better. Jake Cronenworth is better.
Wow. That's a hot take right there. All right, we got back-to-back hot takes. I like the Braves pick a lot because when I was doing my top 5 power rankings in the National League, I originally had them slotted at number 4, and then the more I studied and did the research and looked at that lineup, I was like, I got to move them up to number 3. And I was like, nay. I got to move them up.
Forget about them, right?
2.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the second best lineup, I think, in the National League, because when you just go up and down the lineup, like you said, like their backup catcher was an all-star. You got Austin Riley, who didn't make the all-star team, who's going to be like top 3 in MVP voting. Matt Olson has been 90% Freddie Freeman this season. Dansby Swanson's about to get the bag because he's having such a good year. Ronald Acuna is not even really playing like an all-star, but we know the kind of talent Ronald Acuna has as well. And then Marcell Ozuna, like he hasn't been that great either this season, but he's at least been able to contribute in the power department with 17 home runs. So you just look up and down that lineup. Like I think it's both deep in terms of talent and it has the kind of star power you need. And they also got the infusion of young talent too, because what's his name? Little Michael Harris. Yeah, they're rookie, 21 years old, promoted from the AA, batting 280 right now with an 800 plus OPS. He's running away with the rookie of the year as it currently stands. So I love the Braves pick. It's probably the first pick that maybe we might see eye to eye on, because I think this Braves lineup is deep and it's nasty. So who's up for you next? Is it number 2 now?
Yep. Number 2 is, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
2?
I put them number 2 because I just like to hate in a lot of ways. I love hating, but if you put them number 1, it's fine. I know that they stumbled a little bit out of the gate. I know that Max Muncy didn't have the greatest, first half in the world. But the bottom line is this, is even with all of those things, even with Chris Taylor, who they re-signed in the offseason, even with Justin Turner, the loathsome Justin Turner, him finally looking like the age has caught up to him, even with Cody Bellinger not looking like he's at all, until some serious adjustments are made to his swing, going to reclaim that MVP stature. The fact that for a lot of this season, they still had one of the top offenses basically explains it all. Even when they're not firing in all cylinders, they still have the top lineup in all of Major League Baseball. You could put them number 1 because their lineup feels a little bit more, I know you will like the variety, a little bit more diversity in the type of way that they can hit you, whether it be stealing bases with Trey Turner and Cody Bellinger too, who's quite fast, or you have Rock'em Sock'em, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, right? They're going to do a little bit of everything for you. The fact that it's not just on base and home runs, but also some guys that can just get you the hit when you need it, and guys who have been there before. I totally understand if they're number 1, but I'm a hater, so they're number 2.
No, that's fine. I have them number 1 in my National League rankings, at least. And there's not much discussion to say on the Dodgers. It's a lineup full of all-stars and former MVPs. Like that, I think that's enough analysis I need to say as to why I think the Dodgers lineup is that great.
Less said about them, the better.
Yeah, so we could just move on to number 1. Let's not waste any more time or breath on the Dodgers.
Number 1 is the New York Yankees. It is extremely new era baseball thinking for me to put the Yankees number 1, but I believe it. I know that they're 12th in batting average, and you would immediately say, well, how are they your number 1 offense? Well, they're second on base, first in runs, first in home runs, and first in slugging percentage.
Yeah,
I think that with DJ LeMahieu bouncing back, I think that with Anthony Rizzo taking advantage of the short porch, Aaron Judge being an MVP, and the fact that Joey Gallo and Aaron Hicks can be like the black sheep of that lineup, and they're still leading in all those categories. And this is a team that we talked about earlier. They could absolutely make big trades. They could trade for Juan Soto. They probably can't trade for Andrew Benintendi anymore, just in case they have to play Toronto. But for the most part, I just think that this is another team that has a trade to make. And because of that, and because of the unbelievable home run power they already have, they've had a lot of walk-off hits this year. I think that they're the best lineup in Major League Baseball. It's a little bit of a toss-up between them and the Dodgers, but I feel like they have a move to make, and I think they're going to go for a guy that's really going to help their lineup a decent amount. And Matt Carpenter has been the biggest out of nowhere overperformer that I've seen in a very long time. I know that the Yankees, they had Mark Teixeira have that one last great season for them, but Matt Carpenter is just on another level right now with the way he's slugging the ball. So, hey, maybe he's their future outfielder. Maybe they might not even have to trade for one. So that's
I can't argue with that, number 1. I think the Dodgers is a more talented team, but the Yankees lineup has performed the best, I think, in baseball this season. Like you said, they got 3 dudes over 20 home runs, 4 dudes with over an 800 OPS, and one guy who you didn't bring up, who's quietly having a bounce-back season as well. Maybe you did bring him up, but I didn't listen, is Gleyber Torres. Like, we know this is a guy who's been a lot of trade rumors the last couple of years, a guy who came out at the gates those first couple of years in baseball really hot, looked like a shortstop of the future for the Yankees team, 30-plus home runs, and then kind of struggled those next couple of years after that. But this season, like, he's had a nice little bounce back for the Yankees, around a 270 average, around 800 OPS, will probably finish with 20 to 25 home runs. Like, if Gleyber Torres can get back to being the good Gleyber Torres with that confidence, that just increases the Yankees ceiling and lineup so much more. And Matt Carpenter, I mean, he needs to go get drug tested or something, because what he's doing right now, it's not right. I don't know. He's played, let me see, I have the games here. He's played 31 games. He has 13 home runs already, 350 average and a 1380 OPS in that time. At the time of we're recording this, which is probably like a week before the time of the posting of this actual podcast. So Matt Carpenter, I don't think has been fair for the Yankees this year, and I don't disagree with you at all that should be number 1 in your lineup power rankings.